Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Fit Elite Strong podcast, where we're going to talk about everything health, fitness, style, all kinds of fun stuff. Here at Fit Elite, we believe in being strong for life, and that means not only being strong for all the things that you want to do in your everyday life, but that means being strong for your entire life. So you have a longer health span, feel healthy longer, can stay active longer, and do all the things that you want to do into your old age. Corey, here we are, you and me today on the podcast.
Here we are.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
Well, I thought it'd be a good piece to run into is we get a lot of questions about creatine. And so what the supplement is, what it does, why should you take it, how much should you take, am I going to be bulked up just because I'm taking it, is there adverse effects to it? Those are things that I've heard before in the past.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. So I have kids who are, I guess the parents I get a lot from is Braylon's friends, and so Bray's 14, and kind of asking, should my kid be taking it? And I actually have a lot of the adults or the parents of kids or the clients I train, like, should I take it? What's the benefit? And most of the time, I would say 99% of my time, my answer is yes, you should be taking it. So I think it's good that we're getting into this conversation today, not only to help the younger athletes who might want to take it and why they would want to take it, but also get into their parents, other adults as we age, and what benefits it can have for people as they age. So here we go.
Why don't we start by busting some myths?
Oh, we're gonna bust myths first.
Yeah,
that sounds.
Because I think there's a lot floating out there. Like, first off, is this gonna make me into a bodybuilder?
Yeah, no, meaning like, am I gonna get huge and bulky? And no, that's not.
Is this a steroid?
No, it is not steroids. They work in a completely different way. And as we get into kind of more of the mechanism of how it works, I guess the commonality is there can be help in like the recovery time between sets, but it works through a totally different mechanism. Steroids are hormones. Creatine is involved in the ATP process that helps us kind of use our energy and be able to do more.
Well, let's pause there. Let's talk about what ATP. Let's talk about ATP is. I don't think people know what that is.
Yeah. So you want me to break down the whole word? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, so as we go into the ATP process, so let's talk about that a little bit. We go into we want ATP regeneration, right? And the way this works, we have creatine that gets turned into phosphocreatine that goes into it's for faster ATP regeneration, and that helps us use our energy to build muscle, to not just build muscle actually, but to reuse that energy so we can. How do I want to say this?
I think I know where you're going with that. So it is part of there's three main processes of creating energy, which ATP is energy. That's how we should think of it. It is energy for our cells. Everybody's heard of mitochondria. Part of that process, ATP is getting shuttled from mitochondria to the cells, which muscle is a cell. So it's using that ATP as energy. So every time you contract your muscle, every time you lift, you are using ATP. So especially when lifting, this first pathway, which is the quickest pathway, which involves creatine. Mm-hmm. So it's actually attached to part of the P. So the P stands for phosphate. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 phosphates in ATP.
Look at this guy, just busting it all down.
ADP plus CP, which is creatine phosphate. Yeah. So those two are paired together. So the creatine will get cut off. That phosphate will go into the ADP into ATP. This is like the one thing I learned from college that stuck with me. But that is the whole energy process. So when you're working out and lifting weights, this is a quick source of energy that we rely on. Yeah. So when we're lifting heavy, when we're doing longer sustained bouts of exercise, like 10 reps, 12 reps, higher rep ranges you could think of, even the lower rep ranges, we're using primarily this process to shuttle energy into our muscles. Right. So that's why it helps lifters so much, because it's this short bout of energy.
Form. We get it in there. We need energy to do work. Energy is required for all this stuff. what this does, what creatine does, and the role it plays in it, it allows us to create energy faster and more efficiently. Boom. There's the simple answer. I love the science because I'm glad that you had all the what adenosine triphosphate is that adenosine? Yeah, I knew it. Triphosphate. So I love that they break it all down into the science side of it. But for like me, it's way easier for me to say I need more energy. It helps me do energy faster. And like your point is, especially in short bouts of work, and this is something we'll get into later on, like who is helpful and who is not, maybe not as helpful for. But when we have short bursts or powerful, and quite frankly, we'll get into it later, your brain uses ATP. It's required in your brain, and your brain is a very calorie hungry organ. And so having good or faster process there can be beneficial. And we can talk about that as well later. So love it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it is not going to turn you into a bodybuilder.
No.
It's not a steroid. Yeah, it's not a steroid because it's not a hormone. It is a part of energy production. And the muscles primarily store that creatine. So that is why people associate that with bodybuilders, because they take it the most because they know it's an advantage for them.
Right. Because, and like we'll get into it later on, I think maybe more in depth, or maybe this is what we talk about now, is it's the speed at which you can produce more and recover, right? And get into the next set or have a little bit longer bout. Or if I'm a sprinter, or if I'm a short burst athlete, hockey, basketball, football, where I'm going to be more of a short burst of energy, like I need to replenish that energy. And if I have that extra creatine on board, it allows me to do that a little bit faster.
Yeah. I don't even think it's limited to just like people that are doing short bursts of exercise.
Right.
Because we're going to use all of these energy systems all the time.
Right.
Like not one is only working while the other ones are not working.
Right.
At some level, every single system is giving you energy because your body needs that much.
Right.
But when we're intensely working out, we're going through energy a lot faster. So we need to recycle it way faster to be able to keep up.
Right.
If people have ever felt the burn or what they call lactic acid, that is like the buildup of you're getting lower on your energy levels and the fatigue is rising up. So that's why you're feeling that way, because you don't have as much energy available because you're using it really fast. And you just can't build up that store back up to use.
Yeah. What's another myth?
I think another myth that is well, this one might be not super clear to everyone, but I think the data is clear. But is this safe for me to take on my kidneys, on my organs?
Right. And you talked a little bit off camera. We'll talk about on camera a little bit. I think for healthy individuals, it's super safe to take. And there isn't a ton of research showing that it's detrimental for people who maybe have kidney problems. I mean, if we're in major kidney failure and stuff like that, I don't necessarily know that there's a need to be taking creatine in the first place. We can talk about that more. But is the risk reward there at that point? Maybe not. So in healthy individuals, there really is it doesn't decrease kidney function. So it's not going to hurt your kidneys. It's not going to cause problems. But if you have problems already and they're severe, it could be an issue in processing.
Well, I mean, that is a blood marker that doctors will look for, is like your creatine levels in your kidney.
Yep.
So if you're taking creatine, you should probably tell your doctor if you're getting checked up for kidney failure or health or whatever that is. So you might have issues. Tell them that, because they can look at a different marker.
Right.
Because there's actually a couple different ones that they can look into that isn't distorted by how much creatine you're taking.
Right. Yeah, we maybe talked about this before, but one of my boys is a type 1 diabetic, and that's one of the things that they're looking for him is that marker to see where he's at, and he happens to supplement with creatine also, and is being a type 1 diabetic and supplementing with creatine, he's all within the normal range. So kidneys are functioning great. There's no problems there for him. So yep, that is a very good point to understand. Creatine is one of the most studied, safest, and effective supplements that people can take, and cheapest. There's over 1,000 studies on this stuff.
50 years of data.
Right. Exactly. So it's going way back. So it's been very studied, and I think we'll dive in a little bit more on kind of where new studies or more recent studies have gone versus where they started, because we're talking a lot about muscle here, but we'll dive into like, okay, where has more recent research really gone with creatine as well.
So. Yeah. Those are the main two. Like
I got another one too. Like there's some people that like they get more cramping or dehydrated. They feel like they maybe get dehydrated, which is kind of the opposite, right? Like you'll actually, a lot of times when people are dehydrated, it does, it actually helps a little bit more with hydration. And so it is like, I think the opposite, that creatine actually helps a little bit more with hydration.
Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up now when people talk about creatine, they're like, oh, you better drink a lot more water because it's going to dehydrate you. Like, but that's actually the opposite. It is not dehydrating you. It may be pulling a little bit more fluid into your muscle, but not so much that you're going to be dehydrated. But that's actually what you want. You want fluid pulled into your muscle because that's how you prevent cramps and all that good stuff.
Right. The other one I think of is, okay, did you take creatine like when you're in high school and stuff like that, or college?
College for sure. I don't remember in high school if I did or not.
Was there something you remember when you first started taking it that it was recommended?
A loading phase.
Loading phase. So there's a myth that you have to do this loading phase, right? And the studies, the science shows not really required, right? The point is you need to get to saturation, and once you're to saturation, you're there. And doubling it for 7 days doesn't necessarily get you there enough faster to make it worth taking the extra.
Right. That makes sense. It may get you there faster, but the whole point is to get the saturation and keep it. Right. Like this is something that you should take every single day. Correct. Not when you work out, and it actually doesn't matter when you take it. Right. As long as you're taking it every day, it doesn't matter if it's after workout, before workout, at night, whatever. When you get up in the morning, whatever. Yep. Timing does not matter. As long as you have it in your routine, you're doing it every single day, you're getting that muscle saturation, and then you're getting all the benefits from it.
Love it. All right. So we hit some myths. If you guys, people listening, if you have questions on other myths you've heard or whatever, shoot us a message. Hit us on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Shoot us a message, and we'd be happy to answer those questions on that too. All right. What do we want to dive into next?
Let's talk about what they've recently been looking into.
Sure. So, we talked, I think, let me back up a little bit. We talked a little bit about like athletes or people looking to gain strength, power, lean muscle. So that's kind of where a lot of our conversation went, right? And that's kind of the historic place that we have understood creatine to be a benefit, right? Where and you went through the whole process of how it works. So we can increase our strength, we can increase our lean muscle mass, we can improve our recovery because this ATP process is becoming quicker because we have that creatine on board. Which also allows us to increase our training volume potentially, right? Because we're able to recover a little faster. So now training volume goes up. Now I can adapt better. So now that's how I gain lean muscle mass. Not like, no, the bodybuilder stuff is from a diet. Like that's it. That's right. Crushing calories and getting much bigger. For most of us, we're talking lean muscle mass, where it's lowering body fat and having it being toned. We're not talking about being huge.
Like an optimal amount.
Right. Right, exactly. So that's where I think a lot of the early stuff went. And for me growing up, it was like to play football or to get, bigger or whatever. But more recently, a lot more of the research lately has gone more to like brain function and cognitive performance, which is, I think, exciting and interesting to learn a little bit more about. So, part of it is like what they've found, what the more recent studies have shown is that creatine and taking on creatine can help improve memory, can work with your memory. It can help with your processing. It's like your process. Well, it's the same ATP process, right? In our brain, we need it. I can improve my processing. It can help reduce like fatigue, my mental fatigue. So I can stay alert a little bit longer throughout the day. So I know a lot of us aren't getting enough sleep, but it helps reduce, or we're making a lot of decisions or leading organizations or whatever. Mm-hmm. A lot of mental fatigue. And then it also shows some like protective benefits. So some brain protection benefits as well in the study. What have you seen?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. And I think primarily the reason for it is because it is an energy source that the brain is using. And so when the brain doesn't have enough energy source, you feel fatigue, you feel brain fog, you feel like you're slower than you should be, not as sharp. So when you have that extra energy source, you're sharper, you're clearer, you're able to think through things and process things better. So I think that's where most of the benefits are coming from just having that extra energy inside your brain, because our brain is very hungry. It is always looking for more energy. It's probably like 50% of the energy.
Right. Well, that's like when you get tired, people crave sweets because your brain needs glucose, right, to do everything it's doing. So like, give me this stuff on board, and the ATP is like, let's get it, let's go. We need some energy here, right?
Yeah, I think we should also clarify. Just because you're taking creatine doesn't mean you need to skip eating.
Right. And that's something at the end of all this, I kind of want to dive into is like, like if you're not doing some basic things, let's not worry about the creatine, right? Let's worry about the basic things first. And then this is what we add on to it.
Yeah. So I've seen all of those studies. I think we're not at a point to where it's like conclusive. We know exactly that this is happening and this is why. So there's definitely needs to be more studies for that, more randomized control trials to see what is it really doing in the brain. But I've also seen that it can help with like stressful events. So whether that's like sleep deprivation, you got 2 hours of sleep. You take a little bit extra creatine on that day. And I've seen some studies say that it kind of lessens the impact of that sleep deprivation, which is just causing stress on your body, stress on your brain, helping lessen that effect of stress. I've also seen like jet lag, things like that. So when you have these different stressful events, whether you think jet lag is stressful or not, it is a little bit on your body. Switching time zones is a little bit rough when you have a circadian rhythm that you're used to. This amount of light for this amount of time, and this bed and wake cycle that you're going through. You're going to sleep at this time, you're waking up this time. If you don't do that every day, it is a little bit stressful on your body to switch that up. So you can kind of lessen the effect by just taking a little bit more creatine. So the recommended dose is 5 grams. So if you take 10 grams, that can kind of lessen the amount of stress that you experience and your body goes through. Not going to take it away completely, but it just helps you get through that.
Right. That's perfect. That's what I was going to go next is like recommended dose. So that's maybe some place that people had a question about right away is like, how much do you take? It's 5 grams, 3 to 5 grams. And for most adults, 5 grams is like the right number. And taking more, it does require a little bit more to cross the blood-brain barrier. But honestly, your brain can't use the same amount typically as your muscles do because they're very different. They're not the same
You have a lot
material.
more muscle than you do have brain.
Correct. And there's not the same, they don't use ATP in the exact same way. And there's different like transporters that have to get through there. There's limitations there. But taking up to that 10 grams is what I've seen as the kind of the sweet spot if you're dealing with the things that you're talking about. The other one that I've talked about, and this is again where it's like there's promising research, but it's not conclusive research at this time, where it can help with like brain injuries, concussion, recovery from concussions or traumatic brain injuries. There's also promising studies, again, not conclusive at this point, so not like there's publishing this stuff like, hey, this is what but it's promising research, so that can help also limit the your brain from concussion. So if you're a contact athlete or going sometimes to a little bit higher dosage, especially during those seasons. So if I have my son's in hockey season, so he might be he does take a little bit more during hockey season. It's not going to hurt him taking more. And I talked about his blood tests. His kidneys are functioning well. We get tests, how often it's every 6 months or every quarter. So those are all very good markers. So it's not having any physical detrimental impact, but if it could protect his brain a little bit, I'm for it.
And it's not costing you very much.
Right, exactly. Right. I mean, we have a tub of 100 servings, and it lasts us, I don't know, a couple months, I think, and it's very inexpensive. It's probably one of the cheapest, least expensive, and most effective. It doesn't cost a whole lot to take, and there are a lot of benefits that we're talking about here. So like I said, my other son in football season takes it. I think he probably takes more anyway. Like that's just how, he's like the raw guy. Yeah, he's like the raw guy too. Like Braille, you have to put it into like his bottle, and he'll do this. Cam's like, straight down the hatch. Give me some water, and I'll slush it around and take it down. Like, that is disgusting. I can't. I'm gonna have to. I mix mine with my electrolytes in the morning. You have?
Yeah.
Guy's such a meathead.
It's easier. It's easier. I don't have this little bit at the bottom that just doesn't dissolve in the water, and I've got to shake it around. Yeah. Just throw it in my mouth, put some water in my mouth, go down.
That's okay. I just haven't tried it, so I shouldn't knock it. I haven't tried it.
Obviously, it doesn't feel great. It's gritty.
Yeah. I mean, but whatever.
It's gritty in your teeth.
Right.
It's
but
gone in like 5 seconds.
Right. It's you're doing it for function, right? And that's the other thing. It's just like you can get it in just plain powder, which you should. I don't think because other stuff has like I remember back in the day. I can remember going to the gym back in the day, and these guys would have their stuff with all the other stuff in it, and like they're putting it under their tongue or like putting it in their cheek and all this stuff. Like, I'm like, I don't think that's necessary. But what do we know back then, right? Like it's 30 years ago, and we're doing all this stuff. Like we're gonna get it in faster. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But what do we know? I did not do that, but I remember seeing people doing that. But yeah, just the plain, pure creatine monohydrate, no added stuff to it. That's what you want to take.
I do want to mention, like, based off what we just said, there's like the different forms, because there are different forms of creatine. Not as researched. It's shown to be not as like readily available or absorbed or effective as creatine monohydrate. So the majority of the market is 90% of the market is creatine monohydrate. Right. There is new stuff coming out of gummies, and I've actually seen the gummies in the way that they have to process it to get it into a gummy form. That's just not as available for you to absorb, and you have to take like 10 times the amount. Right. Like to get 5 grams, you have to take like 10 gummies. So it's a lot more. It's like way cheaper as well to just do the powder, the white powder, over a gummy. So I mean, if you want to take gummies, do it, but it's just cheaper and better if you just go with the powder.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think the other thing I want to say is like body size does kind of matter. Like if you were a 6'5", 280-pound male, you probably need to take a little more than 5 grams. Right. You just have more size than me. You're double my size. You kind of need more. Right. But barring that, 5 grams is all you need.
Right. Agreed. I was just looking to see the price of our, because we carry creatine here, and I just don't remember the actual price of it.
It's 35 or 40.
It's like, I think it's $40. 100 servings, $40.
Last you a couple months.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I mean, you think about that. If I'm taking 5 grams, that's 100. Yeah. Almost. I mean, 100 days, right? It's like you last you 3 months. Now, if you're, someone who has a stressful days or a contact athlete, it takes half that much. So it takes, lasts you a month and a half. I think that's just something to be aware of. Like just the brand we carry here, it's 100 servings, it's $40. So it is a very cost-effective supplement.
Especially when you get protein prices these days.
Right. Yeah. Because agreed. Another area of help for creatine. I think I'm a 50-year-old guy, and once I get.
Wait, you think you are?
Yeah, I know I am. I do know. In fact, I had a birthday a few months ago. Once we get past a certain age, like we start losing muscle. Like it's just part of aging. Yes, sir.
If you're not doing anything.
Right.
So I don't think you're.
Right. Then okay. So yes. So, but was sarcopenia? Is that what it's called? Yeah, losing muscle through aging. Right. And so part of the normal process of aging is that we start to lose muscle mass, or it's harder to build muscle mass as we get older. Fair? In general, let's say baseline.
More effort, I would say. I wouldn't say it's as like you're not like behind as in how much muscle you could build. Right. Like you can still build muscle.
Right. And then stuff we can talk about later about like protein needs to trigger protein.
Another podcast.
But you need to do this work here, but that the creatine has been a supplement that's really shown benefit in aging population, men and women over 35, and especially as we get older, the recovery times required is a little bit higher. What it takes to build muscle, like you said, becomes a little more difficult. And we talked about this in previous podcasts, like building that muscle, having a good amount of lean muscle mass and being strong and powerful is important to being healthy longer into my life, right? So that's an area that I adult men and women should be taking 5 grams per day to help them build and maintain their lean muscle mass. So I don't want to, I want to fight off that sarcopenia, that losing muscle due to age.
Yeah, that actually just popped in my head. Yeah. They've done studies on people where they've had surgeries or injuries where they've been laid up for weeks or months. And they gave them creatine, and the creatine alone actually helped them retain muscle mass while they're laid up and they can't exercise.
Yep, that's a very good point, because I think, and Dave would be a great one to talk to about this, but post-surgery, so Cam, my oldest son, had a shoulder surgery his junior year of high school, dislocated shoulder in football. And that was one of the things that we really wanted to work on is maintaining muscle mass while he was, in a sling and couldn't do the same things he was doing. And so we actually increased his creatine, or had him taking creatine, still continue at that point. And he was able to maintain muscle mass, come back really strong. And actually, I don't think he even lost much strength, believe it or not. So that was a part of being a 16-year-old kid, but B, I'm going to chalk it up to having some of that benefit of, protective.
There's 2 things I saw that helps people retain muscle mass when events like that happen, where you're laid up for periods of time. It was creatine, and it was actually omega-3s. Yeah. A high dose of omega-3s can help you retain muscle mass.
The other thing is, like, as especially, I'll talk about guys real quick. As guys get older, what's the one thing that they really worry about going down besides their muscle? Testosterone. And it doesn't directly improve your testosterone, but it does indirectly.
I went somewhere else with it.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll leave that one for a different podcast. Then we'll get an expert on for that. But it doesn't directly increase your testosterone, but by allowing you to increase your training capacity through your recovery, that helps support testosterone, right? Exactly. So it's not a direct benefit, but it is something that indirectly we all, guys especially, want to keep their testosterone high. It just feels manly, I guess. and that's a way of one way that you can do that.
Well, because you feel off when you don't have like the amount of testosterone you've had for a majority of your life. Yeah. Like you feel like something's wrong. Right. This isn't how I used to feel. Right. I feel sluggish. I feel tired. I feel demotivated. I just don't feel like my old self. Right. So that's a big thing for guys as they age as well.
For sure. And women, I mean, testosterone too. Right. Similar. So it is important for men. So we talk, you and I build and maintain lean muscle mass.
It's even more important for them.
Right. And kind of the next topic is as women age, we get into that perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause age. And at that point, we really start to see a bigger increase in the loss of muscle mass, bone density. And so one of the things that we talk about is strength training is a key to maintaining muscle mass and improving bone density. And if we're able to recover faster, increase our training volume, maintain muscle mass, or gain muscle mass, gain lean muscle mass, then some of the effects of aging or going through perimenopause, menopause can be negated or kind of balanced, through a creatine supplement. So that's another population that I think benefits greatly from supplementing with creatine.
And don't get fooled by the pink tax. You don't need a separate creatine. 100%.
Right. Creatine monohydrate in the same black container we have downstairs. It's the same for everybody. Right. Well, and I've talked to women in perimenopause or going through menopause, and they talk a lot about like brain fog or just kind of like, a little more brain fog. We've talked about that already too, where creatine can help with that as well, where it's supporting your brain function as well. So it's not just the muscle side of things, but it's that brain function that can benefit as well.
Yeah. So 5 grams a day if you have a stressful event, which could be sleep deprivation, some tragedy in the family. It could be travel. It could be a lot of different things like that. You just want to up your creatine just a little bit, rather than usually 1 scoop is 5 grams, 2 scoops. Right. It doesn't have to be all at once either, because some people can experience some gastric distress. I found my upper limit, 20 grams is my upper limit. Yeah. if I take that much, I'm going to experience a little bit of that gastric distress. So, I mean, everybody's a little bit different with that. So you just got to find your tolerance. How much can you take at one time, and make sure you're not going over that.
Right. And mine's I need to like have food either before or shortly after, because if I take it and then I don't have food for a couple hours, or it's in a weird time, for me it just gets my tummy a little turny. Nothing like, I don't know how to describe it any different than that, but it's just like just something's not right. But if I eat right afterwards, or if I've just eaten, it doesn't impact me at all. So that's just an empty stomach, not great for me. All right, we're at about 30 minutes here, so I want to kind of do you have more you want to? Okay, I do want to just dive real quick into I work with a lot of younger athletes or younger kids, and like I said, I get asked this by a lot of parents. When is it a good idea? At what age should kids start considering creatine? And for me, I think there's a couple of things. This is going to hold true for everybody. If you're not regularly sleeping enough, you're not regularly hydrating properly, and you're not regularly eating properly, like, let's worry about those three things first before we worry about creatine. Okay. Then let's assume those things we're within range on those things. Then we can start talking about how we supplement, right? And creatine is a good way of doing that. And probably 3 to 5 grams is appropriate. And for the most part, I would say like puberty is about that age that you would start considering it. Just because they're from a that's just my recommendation from a developing muscle, that standpoint. I think that's where you see the most benefit. Does it hurt to take it younger? No, there's no studies are showing that it does. There's no drawback to taking it younger. But I have an 8-year-old. He's not taking it currently. I don't necessarily see for him the need.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have a need for it because he's not lifting weights like regularly and heavily. And
correct. But he's playing contact sports and he's in these things. But at his age, I'm not as concerned about it because, quite frankly, I've seen 8-year-olds hit each other. It's not that hard. But as he gets older, and as Braylon and Cameron both hit into puberty, that's at the age when I found it appropriate to, okay, we can start looking at supplementing with creatine, because they are building muscle and we do want to support recovery, and they're in contact sports. So I do want to start working on protecting their brain, and they do have a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to tell you right now, teenage boys are stupid. It's just become dumb. There's like a brain fog all the time, right? And for those of you out there who have teenage boys, I can speak to boys. I have never raised girls, but boys, those teen years are just like you like look at them sometimes like, are they from a different planet? Like, what do you understand here? And that can help with that a little bit. I've noticed, but I would say puberty is about the right age, or post-puberty, 13, 14, 15 is a good age for kids to start on creatine. 3 to 5 grams is plenty. And once they get over 200 pounds, then maybe you can consider a dosage that's higher. But for most of the kids, that's well into their late teens before they're hitting that number. Some kids younger, but that's going to differ by each kid. But that's my kind of thought process on that. Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I like the thought process. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think there's any reason that there's zero harm that it could cause. Right. No reason why I shouldn't give it to them. Right. If you have them lifting younger at 10, right, there's definitely benefit. Right. To it. So, I mean, it definitely depends on case by case basis, right? What is your kid doing? Would they benefit from it? There's no harm in it. If they do take it and they're not necessarily doing things that benefit from it. Yep.
All right, to wrap it up, creatine, yes. 5 grams, yes. Occasionally 10 grams, sure. Who? Everybody. Yeah, I think we went through a lot of the reasons why to take it. It's inexpensive, it's safe, it's very highly studied. There isn't a lot of controversy, I don't think, to these statements that we're making, because there just is so much science that is refuting old ideas, and the ideas that we maybe had 25 years ago are being kind of shown to not be true. Those myths you talked about are shown to not be true based on the thousands of studies that have been done over 50 years. So go get it. Creatine monohydrate, 5 grams per day, every day. And if you go on vacation and you don't take it, it's okay, right? You don't have to pack your creatine with you. If you're gone for a week, it's okay. You've saturated, it's there. It takes almost a month to fully get out of the muscles anyway. So you're okay. You don't have to pack your powders on vacation unless you really want to. So you have some leeway there. So cool. Anything else to add, Core?
I got nothing.
All right. Like I said, if you have questions on anything that we talked about, shoot us a message. Go to Facebook, go to Instagram, email us, check us out, and go YouTube. Show us a message, and we'll be happy to answer it and help you along the way. All right. Till next time, gang.